You're listening to the Bleach Brothers podcast, hosted by B-Word and Jake.
Hello and welcome into the Bleach Brothers podcast. This is B-Word and I'm here with my good buddy Jake. Jake, how you doing tonight?
We're good buddies again?
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back and forth, doesn't it?
Not for me, but for you it does. See, like, because you sounded like a horse shit with your mouth. Like that,
right?
It all came out just terribly. Like you didn't believe it.
Right. Well, sometimes I don't believe it, but
what
for
do you
the fans
believe in?
out there,
do you believe in anything like that people don't believe in?
Kindness.
You don't. I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking like an answer like leprechauns, like because I'm superstitious.
Right.
I'm very.
We've covered that before. Yeah.
I know we have, but like, is there something like that? You're like, yeah, I totally like. I believe in karma, or I believe in I'm a Sagittarius, or I don't know what the hell you are, but because it was just your
Scorpio.
birthday.
I'm a Scorpio. I don't believe in that shit though. Like it's fun occasionally to read it, like my horoscopes and whatever, but none of them are true.
I don't think any of it's fun. I think it's all horseshit. I think I think they suck.
Well, it's just like the most vague. Cookies.
It's like the person that used to write fortune cookies. They asked him to write 2 more sentences.
Yeah, and then they give me some numbers to play in a lottery that I never win.
Right. These are your lucky numbers.
Speaking of, you have a lottery up there?
Yeah.
We have.
I do. I play the Hit 5 in the lottery quite a bit. I will say this about it. This is cool. They have an app for it up here.
Oh, really?
And they have scratch offs too. So me and the wife actually do scratch offs more than anything. And you can log in and see how many scratch offs they printed and then how many have already been claimed as winners. So it'll say like the 50,000 grand prize, 4 out of 5 are left. So we'll actually have a strategy behind it. And we're not millionaires, as you see. We're not winning a ton of money, but we do usually take home more than we spend based on those odds of us breaking it down by looking at. Now we're nerds. We'll sit in the parking lot and go, okay, we're going to buy 2 of this and 1 of this and like break them all down on the cost. But yeah, I've never done the Hit 5 or anything. I think the most we've ever won was like $250. But it was off $1.
We don't have lotteries here. So anytime I go to another state, like if I head over the hill to California or when I used to live in Vegas, whenever I go to Arizona, I would buy lottery tickets. But I ended up traveling. I went to see a buddy of mine in Texas and I flew into DFW and we traveled down to San Antonio. And then we went over to New Orleans and then back up through Shreveport and finished the circle back in Dallas. Mm-hmm. And I bought lottery tickets all over the place there. Dude, I never checked them.
Oh, see, that's the thing about the app. We can scan them on our phone and it'll tell us if we win or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I will say they got it. I mean, I'm sure other states have the same thing, but yeah, the wife like handles all that. Like I'll buy them and stuff and then she'll scan them all in. And then also you get points for how many you buy.
Right.
And so like we'll usually get some free tickets every now and then. But I mean, I look at it this way. It's $1, right? And the grand prize starts at 100,000 every time for Hit 5. And every now and then it gets up to like 1.8 mil. And I'm like, I'll spend $1 to have a chance at that. Have
Dude,
I hit
if
it?
You
no.
If you don't buy any tickets, you don't have any chances.
Right. If you don't play or if you don't pay, you don't play. Right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I don't. A friend of mine had her daughters. One of them lives in Texas and the other one lives in Nebraska. And she had them play the Powerball for her because, she wasn't there. And I would have laughed if one of the kids would have won because, how do you know it was theirs and not mom's? You know what I mean?
My daughters tried to pull that one time. So my daughter's underage, so I'll just admit that now in the sense of I did not let her have the winnings because that's illegal. But we all gave because I have a tradition whenever we travel somewhere, we'll stop at a gas station and we do the typical the typical gas station thing, right? We'll buy like snacks, road goodies, gas, and then I'll always buy a few scratch offs for all of us. And I'll hand them around the car and the kids will scratch them too. And one time we won one and Lila's like, oh, I get to keep this, right? And we're like, no. The only thing I've ever told them is if if they won like over $1,000, then they get to buy whatever they want with it. But the older my kid gets, the more I'm going, that whole $1,000's going to be spent on one thing.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be spent on a laptop.
Right. But I mean, if it's like, if we won the $25,000 off $3, yeah, I'm going to share it with them. Am I going to totally give it to them? No, because there's two ways. It's not going to happen.
Right.
You didn't buy it. I'm not greedy, but also would I put money away for her? Yeah. I'd put it away for college and help her out with that. I'm not going to give it to her now.
When I was young, my parents, they used to play Keno every once in a while. And they used to have me choose the numbers. And I remember all the time we would pick birthdays. So, my birthday is in November. So I would always pick the number 11. And then, my mom's birthday was in September. So she'd pick the number 9. So did you ever do that?
No, my wife does that.
Does
my
she?
Wife. So we've talked about this part about how I feel like East Coast people are more superstitious with ghosts and stuff, right?
Right.
And like tarot cards and like, what is it, psychics and all that. So my wife actually has a set numbers that she always plays that she's convinced are lucky. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, they've never won. So,
right.
But I mean, I guess it's two sides of the coin, right? The odds are in her favor that eventually they could win. And of course, the time I would tell her not to, she probably would. It's like that show Lost, right?
Right.
They had the numbers. Yeah. But okay. So let me ask you this. So you're in Nevada where they don't have Powerball or anything, but you've played it in California and stuff like we talked about. Have you ever done that, like that work pool?
No, I never have. And honestly, it's kind of like one of those things like when when we were in high school and stuff, when they say, oh, we'll grade on the curve. And like, everybody's like, yeah, you can answer one question, whatever one question, like answer that one for sure. And everybody gets 100% or whatever. I don't trust people that much because that taught me right there that everybody's going to answer 2 questions or 3
there's
questions.
only one person you can trust, the person with the ticket, right?
That's it.
And it's the same thing with the test, the person with the pencil. Because that you'd have that group of friends, and we would talk about this, like we did, because we were in a lot of classes together. There'd be like 12 of us, like, yeah, we should all do that. And then you're looking across the room going, yeah, but that asshole right over there.
Yep.
That person's going to answer the whole test. And they're going to be like, well, I'm here to get good grades and do this. And it's like,
dude, yeah, it was the chick in the front of the class, the one that would always raise her hand and ask questions. Like, it was her annoying. Because she was always the one who was trying to get 100% in the class,
The worst part is, B-Word, I know who you're talking about.
Yes,
I know you're smiling and you're trying not to say her name. And I'm sitting there going, I want to say the name, but I also know you have the bleep button ready.
I do have the bleep button.
But I will say that's the most annoying person on the planet, in my opinion. Because you know what? They became adults, and now they're the people that I work with that when we have corporate meetings that make the meeting last 10 times longer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they get excited and they want to talk and they'll say stupid things. Like this is the perfect example. I'll be up there and like, let's say I'm the corporate head and I'm like, 2 + 2 is 4. And they'll raise their hand and go, so what you're saying is 2 + 2 is 4.
What you're saying is that if you take the number 4 and you subtract 2, that you're going to end up with 2?
And so we're the other 2 that needs to make the 2. Oh, shut the fuck up. My God.
Right. Well, speaking of numbers here real quick, buddy, let's go ahead and pay some bills. What do you think?
I'm down.
So 2021 is upon us, and instead of flying cars and monkey robot butlers, we have a pandemic. We have media making every little annoying twit of a child think they're going to be the next famous celebrity because they did some stupid trend they've seen somebody else doing 9 million times. We have people that are self-entitled and stupid and given a voice through social media constantly whining about how everybody else is the problem and how everyone else needs fixing. We have celebrities lecturing us about how we have to give more so we can elevate everyone to a better life from the security of their 7-bedroom, multi-million-dollar estates. We have politicians lying to us that they're going to fix the situations we're in that they created in the first place. And then we've got me having the conversations that a lot of us are thinking but nobody's talking about. Because these things have to be said. I had to say it, the podcast. Available wherever you get your podcast fix or at www.ihadtosayitpodcast.com. Why don't you come listen to what I've got to say?
All right. Well, thanks, Aaron, for dropping a little advertisement for us. For those of you that follow our podcast, make sure to go follow the I Had to Say It podcast. And Aaron for president. What do you think, Jake?
Love that show. He's a great guy. Did he sent me a sticker packet.
Did he?
And I hung my Aaron for President. My Aaron for President sticker I put on my work folder, so when I walk around, everybody can see it. And then my favorite logo of his, the Harambe yelling into a microphone, as I call it, "Dicks out."
Right.
I put that one on my fridge.
Nice.
My garage fridge. That's where you put all your stickers.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
No,
so did you love stickers growing up? Did you love stickers growing up?
Yeah. All right. So I got a story about stickers. So I was that kid, that nerd that would go. Remember when you would go to for us it was Smith's, and they had those stickers where you'd put in the 2 quarters and push it in a little.
Yeah.
So I had a ton of those. I collected those, but I worked at the local pizzeria in town, as you know, and I got to know the guy who would fill those machines, and he hooked me up with all the stickers from those. Like at one point for all the Marvel comics.
Oh yeah.
So, and I actually sold them this year. And this is ridiculous how much these stickers are. So they recreated those stickers, like the trading cards for Marvel, into stickers. Yeah. And I kept them all. And my wife always jokes, and you've joked about this too, how I keep everything, but I keep things in pristine condition and like in a nice case or whatever.
Right.
So we were going through stuff when we moved, and I found like about 40 of them, right? I was like, I found all these stickers. And the Magneto alone was worth $480 the sticker.
No shit.
So I sold them all. I sold all these stickers for a boatload of money. and I got them all for free, but even if I didn't, they would have been 25 cents. And so it goes to show, if you take care of things, doesn't mean everything, but you take care of stuff, it'll sell. But no, I love stickers.
So I love stickers. You collected the Marvel stickers. Were there any other stickers that you collected out of those machines?
Yeah, I loved the Playboy stickers. It was
similar to you, man. Similar to you. The little gas station used to have those stickers, and they had Baywatch.
Yeah,
and so I had Pamela Anderson. I had all of them, dude. And unlike you, I didn't know the dude who filled it. So every once in a while, I'd like pull a David Hasselhoff, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" It was terrible.
Did you like the ones that were like the hologram, like the shiny, or
dude.
just okay?
Yeah, holograms were the shit, man. When we were growing up, those were awesome.
No, I still like stickers. I put a lot of stickers on a lot of my stuff, like my old work computer. When I switched jobs, I had to turn it in, and they had to scrape off all the stuff I had on it, because I would get stuff from like local breweries and stuff, they'd give them to you, and I just like it. I mean, I have 2 on my car, or 3 actually. Zero Foxtrot, I have one of their because I like their clothing line. I have one of their skulls. I have our Bleach Bros sticker. Shout out to Conway Creations, and then I have from my other buddy Clarence or Aaron, the Fly By Night sticker on the side of my Jeep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I've got 2 stickers on mine. I've got the little Bleach Bros logo on there. So again, thank you, Tony, Antoinette. And then I've got a Dallas Cowboys sticker, because I'm one of those. But I'm
not even going to go there.
If your team had a name, maybe you would have a team. But I get it, man.
I was talking to somebody about that today, no joke, and I was like, what would be sad? Not that it's going to happen, but let's say the Washington football team won a Super Bowl, right? The trophy would say the football team on it.
Well, it would say Washington football team, but yeah.
It would still say football team, B-word. Right. It'd be the only time in history Lombardi looked like it went to soccer for a year.
Right?
I would ask them to vacate the trophy. Well, do you think this? All right, let me ask you this on this part. So let's say the Washington football team, the Skins, win a Super Bowl this year, right? And then next year they release their name. Do they redo the Lombardi trophy with the name engraved with the new team name, or do they leave it the football team?
No, they leave it the football team.
It's so lame.
Right?
That's so lame.
So what do you think that they would name their name? I mean, I know that we've talked about this before. You're thinking the Hogs? Is that what you would want them to name it?
I'm thinking the Hogs. I would like that. I'm a big fan of pigs, as we know. I think it goes back to the 80s, the Hog Molly, Front Boys, the Hogettes, all that. I think it's going to be the Red Tails. Or the Red Wolves. I think they're going to try to keep...
I like the Red Wolves.
I don't like any of them, so besides Hogs. And they even said it might be the Red Hogs, which I don't like. I'd rather just be the Hogs.
Yeah.
They're trying too hard to keep red in the name. You can keep the colors and still have the pig be red. You don't need to call them a red pig.
Yeah.
What do you think the name's going to be?
Losers.
Well, that you don't count.
I don't know, man.
You don't count.
For a long time, with their former name, it was the Cowboys versus the Indians, and as a Cowboys fan, I always loved it. But I don't know. We'll see. But speaking of the '80s, man, both of us were born in the 80s, and I'm getting ready to celebrate a birthday this week.
I know. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thanks, buddy. And it made me start thinking, like when we were kids, right? Both of us didn't really have like the most money growing up, like, but we had some great toys, right? What were some toys that you wanted when you were a kid that you would either ask for Christmas or your birthday or something?
So the problem is that there was a lot of toys I asked for that I never got. Like I've never owned a remote control car.
Ever?
No. I always asked for one and I never got one. So I think that's one of the things, like now I'm just like whatever about them. I always wanted the one, remember I think it was called the Rebound. And
is that the one that would like crawl up walls?
No, that was the one that you could drive and it would hit the wall and it could flip over and you could still drive. It could drive on either
I think we're talking
top
the
or
same
bottom.
one.
I think we are. So that was the one I always wanted because they would take it off jumps and it would do flips and no matter how it lands, it would drive. So that's the one I always wanted. Never had that. I never had Hot Wheels. I always wanted the tracks. Never had those. I really loved Ninja Turtles, and it's not just because I was a Ninja Turtle fan. Like I loved going to the store and buying the action figures and collecting those and battling them out. But I eventually just gave up on asking for certain toys, and I was just like a regular. I could go buy a bag of Army Men. And so instead of my parents like getting me toys that would probably keep me out of trouble, they let me buy fireworks and guns and stuff. So I would be the kid that would like build up a whole army like scene and then be putting firecrackers in the ground and melting them and lighting them on fire with gasoline and shooting them. And that's what I enjoyed. I enjoyed just regular dump trucks, my bike. I think out of anything, I enjoyed more sports equipment. I remember, and you remember this, I'd ride my bike to your house all the time.
Yeah.
And I saved up and I bought a Mongoose Pro Expert and like decked this thing out. I mean, I think that the 3-piece crank I bought for it was $750 on its own that I paid out of my pocket.
Well, the town that we met in and you know grew up in, like there was no going next door to your neighbors, you know, because houses were so spread apart. But you and I actually lived like a mile and a half away from each other. We weren't that far. So I remember like you riding your bicycle over quite often actually. And then I'd head over to your house and stuff. And that was kind of nice considering because, you know, a lot of our friends lived literally like 15 miles away.
Well, the funny thing was, so I always equated it. I always called it Pahrump blocks. Mm-hmm. Like you're a block away from me in like Pahrump Centers, which is a half mile. Right. But and I don't know if you noticed this too, in high school or even just growing up together, the people you were friends with were the people in the neighborhood of you. You didn't really hang out with the kids that lived across town.
It was whoever was on your bus route.
Right. Like, you know, we had people that, it was funny. I'd ride my bike to your house and sometimes you would laugh because I'd stop at somebody else's house on the way.
Right. Yeah.
And hang out there and then be like, oh yeah, I'll be over in a minute. And we'd all hit those same spots. And then in high school, when we started driving, we had more friends across town, but even that goes to show some of the original Bleach Bros, 2 of them lived across town and me and you lived near each other.
Right.
And those 2 were closer than me and you were.
Right.
And it's just because we were down the road from each other.
Yeah. No, it's kind of crazy too, because, you know, obviously we had friends with people we were doing sports with and stuff. But, you know, back to the toys, I only had a couple RC cars, remote control cars. But the one that I had that was fucking awesome, dude. And I remember my grandma taking me to Toys R Us to go buy it. I thought it was so cool, and I can't find it. I was actually trying to Google it so I could find the name, but there was a remote control, and on the remote control, which was kind of like a Xbox controller or PlayStation controller, there was the top button, and basically the car would raise up, so it would go off-roading, and so you would push the car down to kind of keep it on the street, but then you would hit that like R button, and it would just raise up, and it was the coolest thing. And it didn't do anything because the remote control car was kind of a piece of work, dude. It was just junk. But I remember I liked it because that's what it did. But I was super into action figures, dude. I loved action figures and action figures of all kinds, like the DC action figures. I remember I had a Batman. It was Val Kilmer's Batman that I thought was just friggin' awesome. And then, you know, there was all of the WWF action figures back in the day, or even like the knockoff wrestling back in the day, or even the WCW ones. Those were pretty cool. But I think growing up, I was probably more into Hot Wheels and Matchbox than I was, you know, action figures. I think there were kind of stages like that. Did you go through that too?
Yeah, I was a Micro Machine kid.
Oh, I love Micro Machines.
And then I Hot Wheels, but the different. I mean, I don't know if we've discussed this. For Hot Wheels, for me, it was always like the cars, like the Shark car or the Cobra car. I always went and got like the off the wall ones. I always wanted to be a kid that built models, but
I never got into that. Yeah, I never got into it.
No, I just didn't like. There were things I liked, but just never got them and stuff. And I like I said, I was more outdoorsy. I mean, I got my first gun when I was young. You know me, I was always hunting. I was always riding my bike. I was always in sports. So most of the money that we got went to like baseball equipment or a bike or stuff like that, like clothes. So I didn't like I said, I didn't have a ton of toys. I think any like video game system I got, I bought myself essentially.
Yeah.
And I was a big video game kid, even though how outdoorsy we were. But yeah, I would go to my friends and play. I remember my friend had what were those WW World Wrestling Federation buddies, like the pillows that looked like Hulk Hogan. And I had a friend, he had all of them.
Really?
And we'd go over there and wrestle that. Yeah, I mean,
you know how much those things would be worth today?
Oh, so much, dude. Well, I told you I just sold like other stuff, right? I just sold a Ninja Turtle collection I've had since I was like a kid.
Really?
I never opened another box, and I was like that. I mean, but I think I don't know. I had more sentimental value to certain things. Like, and this is going to sound stupid, but I don't care. I got like a gorilla, like a big stuffed gorilla from my parents.
Me too.
When I was like 4. And I think I had that all the way up until I was like 15, just in my room. And that like meant more to me than just any little piece of crap thing. But like, then there's little toys that stick out to me. Like I remember the first time I went to San Francisco, I went to Chinatown.
Yeah.
And I bought like $1, like really crappy rubber dragon. And I thought it was like the coolest thing on the planet.
Dude, you talked about a stuffed gorilla, and I don't remember what Christmas it was, but I remember it was Christmas at my dad's house. And, there were a number of gifts, that I had opened, which you kind of didn't really experience this, growing up. And I don't know that you've ever experienced this, but, coming from a divorced family, like I had 2 Christmases and they kind of competed with each other. Mm-hmm. So to a certain extent, that was kind of cool. But to another extent, I mean, I just had so much crap that I really couldn't use because it was split between households. But my dad got me a tent, and it was a Batman tent. And it was all set up Christmas morning. And I remember seeing it, and I was in awe. It was like the greatest tent I've ever seen. But inside the tent was a stuffed gorilla. And I still have him to this day. His name's Harry. And I found other gorillas that were the exact same gorilla, but in different heights. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up getting the whole family of them that went from the size of Harry all the way down to like the size of your fist. I'll take a picture this week and we'll post Harry up on the site so that way everybody can see him. But I still have him. He did, I don't use him at all. Like he just kind of sits there, but he's in my garage. Unfortunately, I've grown out of Harry, I guess. But stuffed animals were kind of cool.
Mine was about 3 feet, or I don't know, maybe 2-3 feet tall. It was a big gorilla. I don't know how big yours was.
It was about the same. Was it holding a banana?
No.
See, mine's holding a banana.
No, and there's certain things I've kept, like my kids. I kept my original teddy bear, and my first teddy bear from my parents was a alien teddy bear with 6 arms that they got me, which I think makes legit. A lot of sense now. And then I have like my original Gizmo doll, and like Adeline has that now, and so I don't know. I mean, stuffed animals were more important, I think, to me, and like stuff like that, like stuff that could sit on a shelf and have nostalgia. Like I said, I didn't get to play with a lot of things, so it just it is what it is.
Did you ever meet your great grandparents?
Yeah.
So my great grandmother, I remember. So she had. I'm trying to remember what she had. I don't think it was MS, but it was something like that. It was muscular dystrophy or something. But she was in a wheelchair. And I remember used to, sitting on her lap when I'd go visit her, and my dad would do wheelies when he was pushing her. And I thought it was the coolest thing, and she thought it was funny too. But before she died, I remember spending time at her house. I think it was after school or whatever. And she would always have cinnamon graham crackers and then grape juice. And those two never like really went together, but I just remember having those. She had a doll. It was like a baby doll, and it was weird. Like it was just an older baby doll. And I remember, yeah, it was just like, it wasn't scary or anything. It was just kind of weird. I still have it. I'll take a picture. But when she passed away, the only thing that I wanted out of her house was that baby doll. Now, mind you, I never really played with dolls when I was a kid, but the nostalgia of that doll was cool. And actually, it's my daughter's doll now. So it's kind of passed down through the generations. So that's one thing that I think is really cool. Number two, you remember Snuggles?
No. Is that the bear from the commercial?
The Downy?
Yeah. Well, not Downy. Downy's its own company, isn't it? Or isn't it Snuggle, like Snuggie? Or I don't know. What is it?
Oh, I guess it is like it's like the Snuggles, like the dryer sheets.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The same bear. Yeah.
So the same bear. So, like I said, I used to get toys that I would grow out of rather quickly, just because I lived in two different households. And so my dad and my mom both would give away, things that I had to less fortunate people. And one of the things that I used to have was a Bigfoot Power Wheels. Remember those?
Yeah.
And like, I didn't really get to drive it all that often because it was at my dad's. And so, the battery would just never stay charged and all that sort of stuff. So I remember giving it to the next door neighbors across the street from my grandma's house. And like, they would push it up and down the street because like the battery didn't work. And it was cool. And so I'd come across things that, wouldn't work like that. But dude, I had a Snuggles bear. It was a teddy bear. And I remember looking for this Snuggles teddy bear and I couldn't find it. And I found out that my dad gave it to those neighbors across the street. Dude, I had the most epic meltdown when I found that out. Like, I was crying, I was kicking. Mind you, I was only like 5 or whatever it was. But dude, nobody messes with fucking Snuggles, dude. I'm telling you.
Well, see how you're talking about, like, the toys that shaped us, sort of like that show, right?
Yeah.
And you asked about my great-grandparents. So I'm going to tell you a couple stories about it. It was funny. My mom was just here, right?
Right.
And we were doing that family thing. You're sitting around the table and we're reminiscing. And we were talking about my great-grandpa. And I think you would have loved to meet my great-grandpa, B-Word. So my great-grandpa lived in Alameda, California. And he like raised cockatiels and was known as like a pirate, had a boat, and always like, I remember he had like a sea turtle like shell on his wall of a sea turtle he killed and ate, as he told us. He'd always smack my great grandma in the ass and call her babe. And one of my favorite things was, I remember he drove like a red Corvette convertible to our house one time when he came to visit. And he told me and my little brother to get in the car, and I think I'm about 8, my brother's 7 or something. And he goes, "Hey boys, I'm going to go teach you how to holler at girls today." So he's driving us around Pahrump, and he's hollering at every, all 3 good-looking, decent women he sees on the side of the road. Just
the ones that have the majority of their teeth, yeah.
Yeah. And my brother leans over at one point when we get near Smith's and yells at this woman who's a little bigger. And I'll never forget, my great-grandma stops the car, goes, "We're going home. You don't yell at the fatties."
Oh,
And my brother got going. Then on the way home, he goes, "You want me to hit this milk truck?" And he runs the truck off the road. And I'm telling this story to my wife, and my wife's not believing it. My mom's like, "No, that's how he was. He was an ornery asshole." Because there was another one. He had this giant camper on the back of the Toyota truck. Like, he had a small Toyota truck. And you would hang out you would ride in the back, right? Well, for some reason, he would lock you in with a padlock if you rode back there with a chain. So if you got in a wreck, you're dead. You're not getting out.
Oh my.
So my great grandma decides one night she's going to drive because he's a little tired. We're all in the back, and she locks us back there, and he tells her not to, but she does it anyways. And he goes, "Well, anything you do, don't drive into a covered gas station," because it was also that old man with like 90 antennas on top of the car.
Right.
She took out every light in a covered gas station and then started realizing she hit it. So she kept driving in circles and took out all the lights of the gas station and kept driving. He's in the back screaming. She gets out of the car, stops, and just opens the screen door. And he's like, "Let me out of here, babe." And she's like, "Nope." And she made him sit in the back and cool off for 2 hours until he calmed down. But I mean, like I said, that's the type of man that I grew up around that shaped me. But I think my favorite story of all, and I'll tell this last one and be done with it. He came and they brought their RV. And I go to bang on the RV to bug him. And I'm probably about 7. And I go, "Hey, great grandpa, can I come in?" And I interrupted him. Apparently I didn't know. And he's taking a shit. And he opens the door, and it reminds me of the scene in Friday when,
Yeah.
So he goes, "Get in here." I go, "I don't want to come in here." He goes, "You're interrupting me. You're getting in here." And he made me stand in there while he took a shit. He takes his shit. He gets out. We walk in the house. He's telling this embarrassing story about it because it's also Nevada where it's hot, right? It's like 100-something degrees summer. And all of a sudden I notice he has a cut on his head. And so in front of the whole family, we walk inside, he's telling the story about the shit or whatever. And I go, hey, great grandma, what happened to your head? He goes, well, I was banging your grandma doggy style. And she fell off the bed and knocked me over last night. And my mom gets so mad. Like, you don't say that shit in front of him. He goes, why? They're going to know one day you just plow your grandma.
Oh, man.
And that is the type of man I was around.
It's funny because the Halloween party that I went to recently, and I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but there were 3 generations at this party, right? So
Related to you or another family?
No, we're not related, but
okay.
There were three generations at this party. So the oldest was, I think she's in her late 60s or early 70s, maybe. The youngest is in their 20s, and then the middle is in their, mid to late 40s. And what I found was really funny is somehow sex was being talked about, and the grandma grabs the mom and the 2 granddaughters, mind you, and me and one other person, and says, hey, if you love them, you fuck them. I was just, dude, I wasn't mortified. I was just really happy because I'm really happy that she, that her hips still work like that and that there's still love between her and her husband. But let me tell you, the other 2 generations,
they mortified.
Like, dude, they're scarred. They're That's scarred good. For life. Good. And what's really funny is like the grandma, she did it a little too much with the drinks. And so she kept saying it was my fault. She's like, it's Brian's fault. It's Brian's fault. And I'm like, dude, I didn't do anything. You were hammered when I saw you. Like, this is crazy.
That's awesome.
But so another thing growing up, like, I know that a lot of people talk about this, but MTV. I remember you and I watched MTV.
And when I come over to your house.
Yeah. And we would watch MTV occasionally, like VH1. CMT was some music videos, specifically like Shania Twain, right?
Right. But they actually played music videos.
They played music videos. Like, there's nothing like that anymore. I mean, you can probably say YouTube, but here's the thing. Like, I was talking about it with a buddy the other day. There's a lot of good music out there right now. There really is. And it used to be for every album that was released, no matter the genre, there was, 1 or 2 music videos that were out. Now, that's not really the case.
There is so like I brought up this band multiple times and I've told you about this, Ice Nine Kills, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They did a series with their album. Like another great band for that is Falling in Reverse. You'll notice this. I'll say this, B-word. Majority of the time now, record labels, in my opinion, are not going to invest in music videos. It's mainly for singles. And bands are proving that, like Tom McDonald, the rapper, right, is a perfect example.
Right.
Singles are more important, essentially, now with the way music artists are paid on streaming and platforms and downloading.
Right.
Like, because you can download a song on iTunes usually for $129 each, right, or an album for $9.99. So, and an album can have 14 songs. So you're going to make more money based on the singles.
Well, and you look at things like SoundCloud. Like, that's where Post Malone was found, was on SoundCloud. That's where White Iverson was released. Yeah,
but back to the point of, they still make music videos. I think it has to be for a certain age, not age demographic, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going out and seeking out to watch country music videos. I just like listening to the song.
Right.
But like when I find artists like Zillakami, or I think it's Zillakami who did Dog Boy, that album just came out, which you actually might like. It's like grunge, like it's almost like grunge Nirvana mixed with rap.
Okay.
Very interesting. I mean, I will say he used to ghostwrite for Tekashi 6ix9ine, so take that with what he will. But I dig it. I mean, it's different, right? And I found him from music videos just going down the YouTube rabbit hole, right? But back in the day, yes, like I love that an album would come out. It would be mostly promoted with an album. Like Eminem was a perfect example, right? He would come out with like, "Hi, my name is," and you'd watch the video and you loved it, and then you'd fall more in love with the album, right?
Right.
I mean, we were alive too when MTV split and made MTV2.
And MTV2 used to have all the music videos, while MTV1 had more of like the entertainment content.
And that was the whole point. They were like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll still have music hours over here, like Headbangers Ball with JB Josta, you know, stuff like that.
Right.
And then MTV2 would play the videos, and then they both just went to shit. And I mean,
Well,
that's the joke.
VH1 used to have like, I don't remember if it was like a top 20 or something like that, but it was like daily. You know, they would play all of the top music videos. But I still remember like coming home from school and watching TRL, you know, and you're like, what's going to be the top music video today? And like, that was really cool. Like, that was a cool time to kind of be alive because, you know, it was still really popular. The music was, you know, at times okay. Some of the music was great. But, you know, if not for music videos for some of these artists, I don't really know that they would have stayed around. You know what I mean?
No, I think music videos made some people. Like perfect example is Crazy Town, the band, right?
Yeah.
Remember that song? What was it? Butterfly or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think the song would have been a one-hit wonder hit on the radio, but without the video, I don't think they have as much play.
Right.
You know, like Aqua, like you bring this one up all the time about me, Aqua Barbie Girl, right?
Barbie Girl, yeah.
I mean, you watch that video, it makes the song. Well, and it's very few that songs are made by a video, unlike vice versa, where a video makes a song, right? And I think in that case, that's a song or a video that makes a song.
So, what did you prefer when you would turn on music? You know, like music videos. Did you prefer MTV? Did you prefer like VH1? Which one was it that you would gravitate toward most?
I'm gonna get crude here for a second. MTV. I loved watching big booty hoes. I'm not lying. Trina, that's my chick. I could watch a Trina video over and over again because I like that.
I remember watching like some of Lil Kim's videos, and I got grounded. It was like, what are you watching? I don't know. I just turned it on. Bullshit. What are you watching? Next thing you know, dude, I'm grounded. Like it's
any, you know how certain things like bring back certain things. I'm gonna put this out there. This is gonna be gross, but I don't care. Certain things bring a reminder of a smell, right? And watching a Trina music video reminds me of cherry blossom lotion.
Really?
You got to keep it. You can't do it dry, bro.
You can. It probably just hurts a little bit.
Shouldn't.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Mint shampoo was made for a reason.
That's right.
No, I preferred MTV. I also liked the CMT. I don't know. I was like you. I think I went and like when I started getting older and LimeWire and stuff was around, I would watch videos to find out which songs I was going to download that week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And go search for that. But I mean, like you remember in high school though, I was into the stuff that wasn't being played on TV really. And then all of a sudden my genre started, and then you know, I was one of those, like AJ was even joking about it, you know, with us in the chat from last week's episode of Wyatt and the Ashes of, you know, the posers things. Like I didn't like everybody that liked, all of a sudden everybody liked AFI because they got on MTV, and I'm going, what the fuck, right? Yeah. But
I'm sure I've told you this story. I just don't know that I've told it on the podcast. But speaking of LimeWire, I was making a CD for a girl, and her favorite artist was T-Pain. And so I went on to LimeWire and I was downloading some T-Pain songs, and I downloaded I'm in Love with a Stripper, and I ended up with 10 Trojan viruses. And that was my first experience with sexually transmitted diseases.
Your computer got one.
my computer got burned from a stripper, and it was crazy.
That's awesome.
LimeWire was crazy though, man. Like, but I kind of want to go a little bit earlier in our life than LimeWire.
Okay.
Nickelodeon had some. You didn't. Well, you've seen Nickelodeon cartoons though.
Yeah.
Like Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy. Mm-hmm. Do you remember all that?
No.
So all that was more or less a Saturday Night Live type sketch comedy show.
Kel? Was Keenan and Kel?
That's where Keenan and Kel were from.
Okay.
But yeah, so between that and, you know, Disney. See, Disney never really captured my attention, but Nickelodeon did. But we both used to sit down and watch Ren and Stimpy. We both used to sit down and watch Beavis and Butthead. Was there like a cartoon that kind of defines that era of your life, like middle school, high school era that was like exactly what you were looking for, that every time you watch it, you're kind of taken back to that time period?
Rocco's Modern Life.
Really? You watch Rocco's Modern Life?
I love Rocco's Modern Life.
I hated Rocco's Modern Life.
I love Rocco's Modern Life. That was one of mine. Like I said, I didn't really have Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network growing up. And so when you said Beavis and Butthead, never really watched it. Didn't really watch Ren and Stimpy. I like Doug.
Doug was awesome.
I think if I went back, like I would be further back. Like my favorite cartoon, I think, is going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I liked all the Disney cartoons like Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, DuckTales, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Like I still remember to this day, my favorite Rescue Rangers cartoon is the one where they're in the cult of orange soda. And I thought that was the greatest episode ever, where they pour orange soda on themselves.
Did you watch Captain Planet?
Yeah, I watched Captain Planet. Heart, that lame ass.
Wind, water. So Captain Planet had an episode and like sticks. You know how that like certain things you watch, like you mentioned for Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, like there's certain episodes that stand out to you.
Mm-hmm.
For Captain Planet, there was an episode where the enemy's name was Bliss, and basically it was a don't do drugs episode.
Okay, but
like you couldn't be around Bliss because even though Bliss makes you feel good, like it's just wrong. It was just this weird episode. It's really the only episode of Captain Planet that I remember. But you know, the Magic School Bus. Do you know that those kids in the Magic School Bus are basically the same kids?
Same kids in Captain Planet. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen the fan theory, and I mean that's art style though too. Like that was, I think that's a big thing for me with cartoons too. Is like, what art style are you a fan of?
Right.
Like I hate a lot of the new age stuff, and it's not just because of what it is. I hate
it looks more digital.
It's not just the digital shell shading. It's just also like there's certain cartoons I just didn't like the way they're drawn. Like I like Fairly Odd Parents, right? That cartoon. I hate.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I hate the stylistic of how they're drawn.
It's so not like my daughter watched Phineas and Ferb, and that's kind of what. Yeah, that's the same type of artistic style.
Yeah, I'm not.
I know, like my daughter's generation, my sister's generation, even my brother's generation, because there's a pretty big age gap between us. They're all about like SpongeBob.
Oh, I love SpongeBob.
And I can't stand SpongeBob, dude.
I will say this: I just
never got in it.
I couldn't until, well, I did in high school, but I there's certain seasons. But I will tell you this: the one of the greatest episodes of cartoons ever is the one where it's called Sailor Mouth, where they learn how to cuss and they bleep out in the whole episode. It's to this day, I think it holds up. It's hilarious, B-word. I'll say that if you go out and watch one, just watch the Sailor Mouth episode of SpongeBob, and you will laugh your balls off.
Did you like crossover episodes?
Yeah.
Like, was that your thing when you were a kid? Like, when you knew things were going to cross over, was that like exciting?
The Flintstones Jetson
Flintstones
movie?
Meet the Jetsons? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going for.
I knew that was. I mean, but that's the one we go to with our generation. Like, what other one are you going to name?
Batman was Scooby-Doo.
I hate Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo sucks.
Like, I'm not a big fan of Scooby-Doo, but Batman was on it. They even had like Scooby-Doo actually had quite a bit of crossover. Didn't they have like the Harlem Globetrotters? They had like a few different crossovers.
Oh, Scooby-Doo always had a bunch of guests. You know why? Because the show's so boring. They had to put somebody else in there. Like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, they're going to mask a guy at the end. They're going to go, oh, jinkies, what's up with this guy? Why are you doing that? Those darn meddling kids. Get the hell out of here. That show sucks.
The plot
Scooby
was
can
the
suck
same.
my nuts.
The plot was the same for
It's the same every
Scooby-Doo.
episode. And
every episode.
How stupid do they think we are? Like, I don't know. I love old cartoons. I will say I love really old cartoons.
Yeah.
Like a Ricochet Rabbit.
Yeah.
Or the original like Inspector Gadget and stuff. Were you that
Inspector
kid?
Gadget was great.
Did you watch more cartoons before school or after school?
Saturdays.
Oh, see, I didn't get to.
Yeah. I didn't really watch a whole lot of TV during the week, but I remember I was allowed to watch TV on the weekends. And then like in the summertime, depending on where I was, like, again, I come from a divorced household. So, you know, typically like if my dad or something was working in the summertime, I would stay with my grandma and grandpa. And I used to watch, you know, a whole ton of TV with them. So like there's that. But I love older cartoons. As a matter of fact, like I love cartoons in the 80s, like the Transformers and Thundercats and oh my gosh, dude, there were so many good episodes. They even had Josie and the Pussycats. Were you ever into Josie and the Pussycats, dude?
I was also into Gem. Jem.
Oh, I remember
the hologram
Gem.
girls. Yeah.
Dude, I haven't even thought about that in probably 20 years, bro. That's fantastic.
Yeah, see, I like that's the theory of two, right? There was Gem or Josie and the Pussycats. There was Snorks or the Smurfs.
Oh, see, I never knew Snorks, but I remember
Snorks are way better than the Smurfs. Snorks are the underwater version.
So, Fraggle Rock or Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Which one you got?
Oh, fuck, that's not fair.
That dude, those are the two that I have to bring up right there.
I would rather go Mr. Rogers.
Why?
I just like everything about it. It was more
like I love Mr. Rogers.
There's more learning. See, no, to me it was Mr. Rogers or Sesame Street, and then it's Fraggle Rock or that stupid dragon that had like a house. And I don't remember the name of that one. It was the big bear in the blue house or something, right?
I remember that one.
So if you did the theory of two, right, you have the big bear or the house or Fraggle Rock, and then you have Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers, in my opinion. Those
Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock for me.
Okay. See, those two, all right. So were you a fan more of the Muppet Babies or Tiny Toons?
Muppet Babies.
Me too.
Yeah. Tiny Toons were okay. But Tiny Toons to me were more like Animaniacs. Okay,
to me, the one I would correlate with that was Bonkers.
Oh man, you're bringing up some stuff that I haven't thought about in years, dude.
I liked Bonkers.
Crazy.
I liked Animaniacs more because I think Animaniacs was like almost like the SNL of cartoons because you had all the little segments. You had the Slappy Squirrel. Right. You had Mr. Pinky and the Brainright. Another one though, because you had you had your certain ones that you'd watch, right? And everybody had those. Like you would flip between the channels,
right?
That's what I think where the theory of two was. I loved Goof Troop. Like I said, Tailspin, Chip and Dale. But I think if I did you get into like the CGI ones? Like when they came out with, do you remember Transformer Beast Wars?
Yeah, but I never got into that.
Oh, see, there was another one that a lot of people don't remember is Reboot.
See, I don't remember Reboot.
Oh, it's so bad. It's like it's so bad. Like it's not just because the graphics. It's like I tried to rewatch it, as older, just to check the nostalgia thing. It's so bad. Another one I started watching, no joke, the other day was Mutant League Football.
Yeah, I never heard of that one.
Oh, dude, it was based on a video game, and it's just essentially about Bones Justice, like it's just these mutants playing sports and cutting each other's heads off and stuff. It's so bad.
So, do you prefer Goof Troop or a Goofy movie?
Oh, Goofy movie, hands down.
I think a Goofy movie is the best Disney movie.
It's one of the best Disney movies of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Michael Jackson. Let's be honest. Powerline is Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a great story, and
is it Pauly Shore's best character?
No, but it's a good one.
I think it's top two.
I love that.
I think it's top two, dude. Like I think it's that and Son-in-Law. And then after that's Biodome.
I also love In the Army now though too.
That one's good. Good. What was your favorite movie growing up? Like I'm talking live action movie. What sort of movies like when we were kids did you kind of fall in love with?
E.T.
Yeah.
E.T.'s in my top. Jaws is also in there. It's mostly going to be creature features, as we've talked before. I could watch Jaws over and over again. Gremlins.
Yeah.
Goonies, of course, is in
Goonies. There. Yeah.
I live near all the stuff up here too. I've been to the Goonies house. That was a interesting one. Yeah. Yeah, I went to it. I mean, it's just a house. And the funny thing is the people that bought it, I'm sick of this happening. The people that bought it started complaining, we don't want people taking pictures in front of it. It's like, don't buy that house then. You know what you're buying. And so
the people who buy the Brady Bunch house in LA, same thing.
Yeah.
They got all pissed off.
And then the funny thing is then they put out a box for donations going, we need to help keep this house here. And it's like, fuck you guys. You guys put up drapes and stuff and
yeah. And
then I guess, I don't know what's happening to it now, but yeah, I've been to that. And then down the road, the funny thing is it puts into perspective too, where this was filmed all over Washington and Oregon. So none of that stuff's close.
Oh, okay.
like, so the Rock, like that beach scene is Cannon Beach, which is very south, and the house is in Astoria, so that's very north. And so, yeah, me and the wife did like a little trip up and down that highway and visited most of the spots from the Goonies. Yeah, that's probably one of my top movies. Another one though that a lot of people haven't heard of is Rad, and
I don't know that I've ever heard of Rad.
it's about BMX racing. It's bad, but it's got the mom that was dating Aunt Jessie in Full House.
Uncle Jesse.
Uncle Jesse. I mean, the chick dating Uncle Jesse.
Yeah,
she's in that.
The same one who went to prison recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in that movie, and they do a thing. And this actually used to be an event in ESPN X Games called Bicycle Ballet.
Yeah.
Where you dance on bike, and they do a scene with that, and they played the song "Send Me an Angel," and I loved that song growing up just because of that movie. And I would watch that movie a lot.
Nice.
So what about you?
Well, you named a lot of good ones that I like. I think the only one that we haven't talked about, well, there's a couple we haven't talked about, like Howard the Duck. I loved Howard the Duck. It was just, I don't know why. I just loved it. But the Never-Ending Story, like the first one, like you can get, the rest of them, but the first one was just incredible, dude.
So you like the first one more than the second one?
I do. Yeah. And here's the thing, you and I have talked about which ones do you like first, and it's because I saw it the first time. Like, okay. I saw it in order. So, like, we can argue over quality of the storyline potentially, but yeah, the Never-Ending Story was the first one. But so those would be like probably the only two I think that I would mention aside from the ones that you mentioned. But you're like a huge fan of what's the dinosaur movie? The animated
Land
dinosaur?
Before Time.
Land Before Time.
Dude,
like, why is that one still like in your top movies?
I don't know, dude. It like I joke still, and I mean, like when I'm sick, I get a Ninja Turtle blanket, a can of crappy chicken noodle soup, some Gatorade, orange Gatorade usually, preferably, and I throw on Land Before Time on DVD, and there's just something about that movie, dude. It's just nostalgic. I love dinosaurs. I still have all the original puppets. I have 2 sets of the original puppets from
really?
Pizza Hut. Yeah, I have full sets of those. I love dinosaurs. Don Bluth, so is the artist director of that movie, right? And he used to, I don't know, I'm going to give a little backstory on this guy. I don't know if you know Don Bluth, but he did All Dogs Go to Heaven and Secret of NIMH and all that, right? And he used to work at Disney. And that's the type of art style I love. And I just think it's a very, for a kid's movie, it has the darkness that it needs. Like, when the mom dies, it has a great score. It's actually it's a fucking movie. It's not just cartoons on the wall, loud, obnoxious noises for an hour, right? Like most of the stuff we get nowadays, like an advertisement. It's an actual good movie. If you made it live action, it'd be a good movie if they pulled it off, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I would hate for them to try though, just for the whole fact that I believe that they would ruin it.
Yeah. The only other one I'll mention real quick, and this is probably one of my favorite movies of all time, is Project X with Matthew Broderick.
Really?
Where they teach chimps to fly planes. That true story. Oh, I love that movie.
So your Land Before Time is my Dunstan Checks In.
Never seen that movie.
You've never seen Dunstan? Like, dude, you love everything to do with
the orangutan thing.
Yeah,
they're not monkeys; they're apes. So get it right.
I didn't say what it was.
Oh, okay, thank God. I thought you were going to say monkey.
No, but no, Dunstan Checks In was really good. But Dunstan Checks In, and then was it Three Ninjas?
Oh, I just talked to my wife about this last night. We watched Free Hysteria last night for movie night with a kiddo. I showed her that movie. She loved it. And I was talking to my wife. I was like, oh, it's like Three Ninjas. She goes, what is Three Ninjas? And here's how I described it. Tell me if I'm wrong. I said, if you took the Karate Kid and Home Alone and you had a really bad writer try to mix the two together with a drunken Mr. Miyagi.
Yes.
It's so good though. I started singing the Rocky Loves Emily song and she has no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
Okay, so you have to introduce your wife to Three Ninjas and let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
That'll be good. So per request. Okay. Fan of the show, Barb. She's heard my side of the story of one of our drunken nights. And she's not heard your side. However, for the podcast, I don't know that I've told my side ever. So I'm going to go through my side of the story and then you can go through your side and or correct me as I go. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, because I will say I know what story you're talking about. And I know how hammered you were.
Oh man!
So you go first, and then I'm gonna edit this story for you.
Yeah, you just pause me and correct me as we go because there wasn't much.
No. I want you to give to it, and then I'm gonna tell what actually happened. Let's do this.
So recently, the reason where this comes from is because recently on Facebook I shared this rate me as a drinking partner, something like that, and this story came up multiple times. But ultimately, I think it was 2007, I'm in Las Vegas for a licensing training. Ultimately, I used to work for a bank, and I was getting ready to get licensed for one of the licensing things that they did. And I went down with there was a total of 4 people, and I was one of the 4, and I was the only one who had the rental car. Mm-hmm. So my name was on it. I was the only driver. So I carted everybody around. So we go down, and there was a girl named Brittany. And Brittany was fantastic. Brittany was what I like to call well-educated. And they may have been fake, but they were there. She had amazing chesticles. And she would drink vodka. Now, I was a tequila drinker at this point. And so we're down there for a week, and every night we're at the bar, and every night I'm drinking tequila, and every night Brittany is drinking vodka. And I think that I have a chance with Brittany. Now, whether I did or didn't, I thought I had a chance with Brittany. So I would ask her, drink tequila with me. And she'd say no, because it would make her undress her clothes. And I'd be like, no, really, drink with me. And no. So we go through this every single night. And then Thursday comes along. It's the day where everybody's leaving, but I'm staying in Las Vegas for the weekend. I reach out to you and I said, hey, and at the time you were going by JFM. You were all hooked up with radio stations and whatever else. And I reach out to you and I said, hey man, I've got a crew and we want to go party tonight. Where are we going? And you said, well, meet me in the Palms and we'll go from there. And okay, fine. My hotel was right across the street from the Palms in Las Vegas. It was at the Gold Coast. Mm-hmm. So that night we had dinner. We had Alaskan king crab legs, Caesar salad, and wine. Okay, none of which absorbs any sort of alcohol. By the way,
this is a shit show. Yeah.
So we go to the Palms, and we're staying in like the downstairs bar area, and then we find out it's ladies' night at the Ghost Bar. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Las Vegas or the Ghost Bar, basically the Ghost Bar is 50 or 55 stories up in the casino, and there's a ledge that goes off the casino with a plexiglass square that you can look straight down, and it's a nice atmosphere. I mean, it's a nice bar. And so I'm waiting for you in the Palms, and one of the people who I was with decided that they wanted to stay at the hotel and watch Grey's Anatomy. The other person so the guy who was with me, he had a buddy who was a fireman, right?
Yes.
Do you remember that? So
I do.
Yeah, so he was a fireman. And then Brittany had a friend in Vegas too, who was also well-educated. She had great chesticles. And those two decided that they were going to go into the Ghost Bar. Well, I ended up getting a text message from Brittany with lines of tequila shots. Mind you, tequila makes your clothes fall off. And she says, I'm ready to drink with you. And at that point, I send you a text message and I said, meet me in the Ghost Bar.
Yep.
So we end up going to the Ghost Bar, and I'm drinking tequila with the 2 girls and with the other guy and his buddy. And you show up. And you come in like a fucking tornado, bro.
Like always. I come in like a fucking freight train everywhere I go.
The entire bar was somehow focused on you and I. Like it was just, and we're having a good time, but I had a little bit to drink at this point, and your fucking ass decided that we needed to drink Jaeger bombs.
We needed to drink a lot that night.
Well, that was mission accomplished, bro. Mission accomplished. So all I remember from here is that there was like a group of women that I think I was trying to get them to go back to your apartment or something, or we were going somewhere else.
Yep.
I remember I was making out with Brittany's friend.
Yep.
But I wasn't really making out with her because like I think I shoved her head into my armpit or something.
Yep. Yeah.
And then I remember being kicked out of the Ghost Bar, and I remember that elevator ride going down sucked.
Yeah, because they had your hands behind your back. and they cuffed you.
And then I remember, and before getting kicked out, I remember I was jumping on the plexiglass square 55 stories up or however many stories up
you were trying to make us all fall through. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then I remember you throwing me on the ground when we got out of the palms because you're a lot taller than I am.
And no.
And I weigh more than you do, and there was no way that you were going to help me across the street. And then I remember something about Las Vegas Metro.
Yep.
And I remember that there was this, that I had bounced off of the bed in my hotel at the Gold Coast and said that we needed to go drinking. And you said that if I were to leave the room, I'm going to be arrested.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Then I remember waking up the next morning to a whole bunch of knocks at my hotel room door and having vomit all over my room. And I was missing my watch and I had receipts in my pocket for shit that I don't remember. And I gave my keys out. And dude, I think that was by far top 2 hangovers I've ever had in my life. And then I remember calling you the next morning, trying to figure out what the hell happened the night before. And so let me back up real quick. So the vomit in my hotel room, like I'm not trying to get anybody sick here, but I was puking up Jaeger, and it was the Jaeger syrup. And you could tell like where I would like roll over off of the bed and puke on the floor. And like I puked on top of the comforter. And like you can tell that I didn't know if I had to puke or if I had to poop because there was the Jaeger syrup in the toilet. There was also Jaeger syrup on the floor in front of the toilet. There was Jaeger syrup in the tub. There was Jaeger syrup all over my plastic covering. It was everywhere. Dry cleaning. It was also in my suitcase. Dude. So what is your side of this story?
So I'm going to start off with a few things here. One, this is one of my favorite Vegas stories of all time. We grew up around there, right? And I have a lot of crazy, like people have joked that hanging out with me is like the hangover because I could drink. You know that B word.
Yeah.
I can drink a lot. So the ending of this story is the next day I wake up to you calling me and you mad at me going, "What the fuck did you do to my room?" And I go, "What are you talking about? I wasn't in your room." You're like, "You shit and puked all over my room." And I went, "B word, why would I shit and puke?" And you're like, "Well, I don't know. I didn't do it. What happened?" I said, "If you don't know what happened, don't blame me." And then I said, "Are you going to be okay?" And you go, "I think I'm supposed to have a meeting, but I'm going to cancel." And I said, "That's a good idea." So anyways, I remember getting the text and I was going to meet you. And I remember you saying, "We're going to go to the Ghost Bar." Well, the one thing that you forgot is you guys all went up there before me. And the reason I came in like a freight train is, you know me, I'm a clever fucking fox, right? So there's a line, because this was a very popular bar. There was a huge line to get in, right? So me being me, I just walked to the front of the line. And I go up to the bouncer and I go, "Hey, I'm here to meet my friends." And he goes, "Who's your friends?" And I said, "The Wells Fargo group." And he goes, "What?" And no joke, they looked at the list and go, "Let him in." And I don't know if it was really on there or if I just had such bravado that they just fucking let me go. So I get in the elevator, I go up to the 52nd floor, and that's when I just storm the gates and I run. I pretty much just walk past every day. I go and see you guys and I yell out. We yell at each other right when we see each other.
Yeah.
And you're with your group of friends. Well, the reason I remember your fireman buddy, he was not a fan of mine.
Right.
And you know me, usually when I meet people and they're not a fan of mine, what do? I become louder and more obnoxious, and I try to show everybody you're either going to love me or you're really going to fucking hate me.
Yep.
Well, the reason there was a group, so yeah, I was dancing with your friends with good assets. We're drinking. We have this huge table. And the reason your friend was giving me shit all night. And so finally, I looked at you.
He was trying to hook up with one of the girls, right?
Well, he was trying to hook up. And so I made a bet with him. And this is how all those other women started, B-word. I said, I bet I can get that whole group of girls over here. And he goes, fuck you can. So at this moment, I get up and I tell you to go get more drinks. I walked over and I walked through that. I walked past this group of girls and I didn't walk past them or around them. I literally like bumped into them and walked in the middle of them and split them like an Oreo cookie and walked through them, went straight to the bouncer. And I said, hey man, I'm going to pay you $50. I want you in 10 minutes when I wave to walk over to that girl right there behind me and say, hey, Mr. Jake Medosic would like you and your friends to join the table. Now I'm stacking the deck, but you know what? Fuck you, bro, to your friend. And I walk back through the girls again. I wave to them and I go back. All of a sudden, you get a huge round of drinks, and you were a little mad at me because you're like, I'm putting this on the company credit card, Jake. I'm like, it's gonna be worth it, man, because you ordered a lot of shots.
Well, it wasn't on the company credit card, but
thank God. Thank God. But
because it was on my American Express, and that was one of the receipts I like. Dude, when I emptied my pockets the next morning because I was still clothed.
Yeah.
There was a $900 tab, dude, that was on my Amex card.
Well, it would have been worth it if you didn't do what I'm about to tell you. So I go sit down, and in about 10 minutes, I'm talking to your friend, and that's when I give him. And you remember this? I usually give people a chance. I go, "Are you ready to give up, or are we going to be cool or whatever?" And he was still being a dick, so I said, "Okay." And I rose my hand in the air and I waved, and the bouncer walked up to those girls and said, "Hey." You know what I told him to say, and they all came over to the table and they go, "Excuse me, who's Jake?" And I said, "That's me, sweetie." And they sat down. I said, "Brian here was so gracious to get everybody a round of shots to break the ice." And they all joined us, and we were having fun. And we had, I think it was a group of like 8 girls. I
think it was like 12 or 14, dude.
You were seeing double, I think, at this point.
Sure, fine.
All of a sudden,
so was my wallet, apparently.
So we're drinking, dancing, having fun. And they're talking to me, and I remember the girl I was trying to talk to at the time, I'm thinking with my dick. She was like, "Hey, we're going to go to this other club." So I go to you and go, "Hey, B-word, we need to calm down a bit. We're going to go to this other club with these girls." And you're like, "Yeah, that's great. I'll be inside." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." That was right after you were jumping, trying to knock us all through the roof, through the plexiglass.
Right.
Next thing I know, I'm getting this corral of girls together, which we didn't invite your other bro friend, thank God.
Right.
And all of a sudden I hear a huge crash. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I walk in and I see your ass on the ground, rolling, laughing your normal laugh, like, and somebody killing, "You got to pick him up." I walk over and I go, "What's going on?" They go, "Your friend fell through a table." And I'm like, "How the fuck did you fall through a table?" And you looked at me and said, "It's because I'm fat." And I look at the girls who you spilled the drinks on and broke the table. And I said, "Can I ask what happens?" As they're picking you up and dragging you to an elevator, the girl goes, "Yeah, he came over and started hitting on us and leaned on the table and kept leaning until the table broke and fell through it. And then he just started rolling around." So at that point, the girls we're supposed to be hanging out with walk with us. They joined us to the elevator. Okay. As soon as they saw that your hands behind your back, we got ditched by these girls. Okay. And all I know is the main one goes, "Hey, still try to meet me there." So my mission at this point, B-word, was to get you to a hotel room and get the fuck out of there to go meet with these girls, because there was no way I could bring you. So
right.
We go down the elevator and we get out, and I'm like, "All right, I'm at least going to get you home safe. I'm going to get you to the Gold Coast and get you." On the way to the Gold Coast, you're leaning on me like you were that table, and I'm trying to walk with you. And Vegas, they don't fucking care about pedestrians. Well, the pedestrian light comes on, but you know how Vegas streets are. They're like 8 lanes wide.
Right.
So I'm looking at this like the Impossible Frogger video game, going, "I got to get this big frog across the street. We both have to survive this." So we're about 3/4 of the way there, and all of a sudden you just go, "Nope," and you fall on the ground out of my arms. And everybody's honking at us, and I'm trying to drag you. And it's not that I'm a weak guy, but you're a pretty big dude, and you're hammered, and you're like a fucking stone at this point, just on the ground. And the worst part is you're looking up at me going, "Thank you," but laughing at me the whole time. And I'm like, "B-word, you need to stand up." So this guy gets out of his car, starts yelling at me, and I said, "You can either fucking yell at me or come over and help me with his fat ass." So me and him pick you up, and he helps me get you across the street. But anywhere somebody helped me with you, as soon as we got to the destination, they just like threw you on me and got out of there. So we get into the Gold Coast, and this is where I'm trying to be clever. So we get inside, and I instantly sit you down at the first slot machine I see. And like a child that is going to misbehave, I go, "Brian, don't move." And you're like, "Okay." I'm like, no,
Okay.
don't fucking move. I'll be right back. Well, my plan was I was going to go and get a wheelchair for you. And I had to convince them. So I talked my way into it going, I have a friend. I need a wheelchair. He's got some problems. And they do. So I get security with me and they come over to get a wheelchair and you're gone. And I'm like, fuck. So now I got a wheelchair and I'm rolling around. Well, that's when Metro got involved because you started running around yelling shit like a banshee at people in the Gold Coast. And I'm trying to chase your ass down with a fucking wheelchair. So finally, the Metro lady gets you and you go, I'm not getting in that wheelchair. I'm like, Brian, you got to get in the wheelchair. Fuck you, I'm not getting in the wheelchair. And the Metro lady's like, you need to get in the wheelchair. So I go, it's called the pimp chair. Come on, you're the pimp. And I don't know why I thought that was a good idea because all of a sudden you looked at it, it was a female hot officer. You go, yeah, I'm the pimp. And you smacked her on the ass. And she threw you in the chair and wheeled you to the room. So at that point, we get you to the room and she tells us to have a good night. Little did you know this. You were not going to be arrested if you left your room. However, for your safety, because I was still fine. I mean, as we talked about, I can drink. I was going to go try to meet those girls still because at this point, you're a lost cause. I'm just going to be upfront with you. You were done. There was no way I was doing
anything that night.
So I go to sit you down. And you're like, hey, we're supposed to meet those girls. Let's go. And I go, B-word, you slapped a cop on her ass. And he went, yeah, it was the pimp chair. And I go, it was the pimp chair, B-word. But if you leave, they told me they're going to arrest you. You're like, what? And your eyes got really big like a child looking at me. You're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. They told me you're going to get arrested, so you need to stay in here for your safety and be good. But you call me if you need anything. And I laid you down. I rolled you on your side in case you puke, so you could puke in a trash can because you only had one bed in your room. And I left. I never met with those girls. That never happened. I went home after that shit. And then I heard from you in the morning. But I'll never forget the next day, too, when you heard all that banging on your door, you thought the cops were going to arrest you. And you went, I don't know whether to answer the door. And I kept it going. I went, I don't know if you should either.
I did, dude. And the follow-up to that is, so I don't remember it exactly how you remember it, obviously, because I was a bit inebriated. But, dude, our training was in a basement, okay, at a branch. There was no windows, bro. None whatsoever. I had to check out of this hotel because I was checking into a different hotel that night.
Right.
And so they took the rental car. Mind you, I'm not driving the rental car. So I had to take a cab to get to the branch. And I got there and I've got my suitcase with me. I had to stop by Walmart first and buy a new suitcase because dude,
I remember this now.
Because my suitcase was full of vomit, dude. And so I have this brand new suitcase from Walmart, and I'm in the basement and I've got sunglasses on. And there's one part that we didn't really talk about. At some point in the Ghost Bar, I ended up in the bathroom and they had the dude, like the little bathroom monitor or whatever that had like the little tray worth of stuff. And I remember coming out of there smoking a cigarette, and I don't smoke. And so the next day I show up in this basement with a brand new suitcase. I'm showered, of course, to the best that I can, but like the alcohol is oozing out of my pores. So is the smell of vomit, the smell of tequila, and the smell of cigarettes. And I had no clue about any of that.
That's gross.
And I sit down at this horseshoe table, and my chair was in the front of the class. And literally everybody who was next to me, they moved like 3 seats down because I smelled so bad. And I had originally called out of the class, and I probably wouldn't have gone, except for they had the rental car, and I had to go somewhere. So, right. So yeah, I ended up showing up, and apparently the teacher of this class, excuse me, called my boss and was like, hey, Brian called in sick. We think he's drunk, blah, 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 blah. And my boss at the time, Audrey, she's like, oh no, if Brian said he was sick, Brian's sick. Brian wouldn't lie about that. Dude, I don't know how I kept my job. Let me put it that way. But that is by far one of the drunkest times that I have ever been. And by the way, dude, we've drank with each other on several occasions, and that is the drunkest time I've ever been around you for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I know I keep saying like I was good, but that's also why I went home. Like I got a cab after that where I was going to go meet those girls, and I went, there's no way I'm going to try to, like, you know me, as we said, I was crafty. There was no way I was going to find a way into the Voodoo bar to meet those girls and finagle my way in there and find them and do all that. And I mean, you know, they were just girls in Vegas having fun. And I just took a cab home, and that's where me and you talked. Cause I was that guy that I would roll into work the next day in a suit and just the same thing. I don't know how I kept my job because I would always show up the next day and everybody would be like, where the hell are you? I was out all night. I didn't even go to bed yet.
Dude, there were times that I would do that, but for some reason, the mixture of tequila and Jaeger, dude, fuck me up. And to this day, I still can't touch tequila. I could touch Jaeger, but I can't touch tequila. You fucked it up for me, Jake. I was a tequila drinker extraordinaire, bro. I used to go on tequila tasting trips and the whole works, and now I can't touch it, man.
Well, you know, it was a good time. So I hope that cleared that up. It was funny because we both had a blast that night. We've always had fun together.
Yeah.
But it is a funny story to tell too, because there is a little bit of two sides to it. Yeah. But the best part is, I will say this, B-word, I was a good friend, and I didn't ditch you. I got you back to your hotel. I told you couldn't leave, but I think I'm glad I did, because at some point, if I didn't tell you, you would have left, and you would have been all over the place.
Yeah, I'd have been. Yeah, who knows? Who knows, man? Well, with that, this is going to conclude our episode. So I just want to shout out our Linktree. Make sure to do Linktree/Bleach Bros Podcast for more of our content. Check out our socials. Check out our merch stores. Give us some support, guys. We love to do this type of content for you guys. We're going to continue to do some great things moving forward. And with that, Jake, what do you got for us?
Nothing but thanks for all the dirty talk, and come back and get sanitized.